Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gorenbein. Please like our videos, go to our YouTube channel, and like our Gracefully Graying site. Today I'm Gracefully Graying. I'm very pleased to welcome a friend of mine who I've known for a number of years, Heather Coleman-Voss, who's going to talk about a personal journey she suffered during this COVID epidemic when she sadly was diagnosed and had not a mild case, but a very severe case, which resulted in her becoming what we call a long hauler. Heather, welcome to Gracefully Graying.
Hi, Henry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing okay today. Yeah.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. First of all, Heather, tell us when you first began to start feeling sick.
It happened in the middle of April. I had already been locking down as much as possible, except for going to the gas station or grocery store. And I was absolutely fine. And I woke up one day and it actually felt like I'd been in some sort of a car accident. I don't really know how to describe it. But I woke up with tremendous body aches, very different from the flu. It felt like it was in my bones. I was absolutely congested. I had a headache like I've never experienced before. And it almost, my throat was so sore. It almost felt like somebody had their hand around my throat. It was very strange. And I also had this tremendous brain fog and fatigue. It felt to me like there was no way I could let my dog out. Like that's how bad it all was. And that is the first day. That was the first day of symptoms I had. There are many more, but that was the first day. And I had symptoms almost for 5 months. I would have 2 or 3 days here and there where I thought I was getting better, and then I would get hit all over again. So April to September was not fun.
I mean, it sounds horrible. First of all, did you ever go to the hospital?
No, because at the time I was diagnosed virtually, and at the time they said that we had to stay home. We weren't allowed to go to the hospital or to the urgent cares if we weren't having an issue breathing. So I actually had a mild cough. I never did get that deep cough that a lot of people get. So because I was able to breathe on my own, I was told to stay home. And all of us at that time who came down with COVID were sicker. You're sicker than you've ever been in your entire life, and you're being told to stay home and just deal with it. So
it's got to be terrifying. Tell me what you said you had brain fog. Describe that for our viewers.
Well, initially the brain fog would manifest in a way that I would find myself in a room and not remember even wanting to go there. So not that typical, oh, I don't know why I'm in this room. I forgot what I was doing. It was more, I didn't even remember getting off the sofa. And now how it manifests in me, I still have leftover symptoms of that. Is I can see a word that I want to say in my head. Like if I'm working with my clients and I'm trying to say salary negotiation, it might come out as saying the discussion you want to have about your salary. Like I have trouble. It reminds me a little bit of it almost feels like I have a stutter now that I've never experienced before, where I struggle to get the word out. And a lot of times I can't get the right word out. And it could be something very simple like remote control. So that is something that I'm dealing with the brain fog. Other people have explained to me that their brain fog is a little bit, it can vary. So some people, their brain fog is just that they are struggling to do tasks that used to be very simple for them. Other long haulers, because I get a lot of messages about this because I've been public about the journey. So a lot of people reach out to me about their symptoms. So
Heather, you stayed at home, you treated. What did you treat with? Were you ever put on any antibiotics or any special medications, or what did you do to fight this other than the fact that you, I guess, had to hydrate as much as possible and sleep as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't anything. I had vitamin, I learned, see, a lot of us, we had to learn on our own. So there's a group on Facebook called the Survivor Corps. And back when I joined, I think there were like 80,000 people. I think now there's, I don't even know how many there are, well over, probably close to 200,000, but we were trying to learn from each other. And, you know, there was really no research out there because it was all so new. So what I eventually learned was to cut out as much sugar as possible, add salt to my diet, and then really amp up iron, vitamin D3, vitamin C, you know, stay hydrated. I was taking Mucinex. And that's basically it. I mean, we didn't have any drug therapies available to us at the time. So
Heather, were you running a high fever at any point?
no, my basic body temperature is usually around 97.5. So I was running a fever around 100.5, but I don't recall getting over about 101.
And how long were you feeling just totally sick as a dog, for lack of a better word?
Well, I'm a career coach. I'm a career transition coach and a life coach. And I had to email all of my clients and tell them that I had COVID and I was way too sick. I couldn't, my brain fog was so bad and I was so sick that I couldn't even process who was emailing me or trying to call me or whatever. I was stayed off of social media because I couldn't function. I couldn't communicate with people at the time. So I had to email all of them and just tell them I had to go on hiatus. And fortunately, 99.5% of them were absolutely amazing about it. And it took about from July, from April to July before I could actually go back with my previous clients part-time. But I had to tell all of them that I might need to cancel at any moment because I never knew what symptoms I would wake up with. So at that point, I was maybe okay, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, but I definitely was having a nap at least 3 or 4 hours every single day. And that's absolutely unlike me. Like if I can get a nap once a month, I'm really happy. But at the time, the fatigue was so bad. And then I was starting to wake up with all kinds of other bizarre symptoms. So I could wake up with, 2 styes in my eye and a crazy, terrible rash on my face and eyelids and my chest, or I could wake up with severe GI issues or that tremendous headache. I imagine is probably what a migraine feels like. So that was very frustrating because I never knew what was going to happen day to day or even from morning to night.
What is your normal caseload as a life coach and virtual therapist?
Well, prior to getting COVID, I would be meeting with 5 or 6 clients a day virtually. And now, now that I'm primarily better, it's getting back up to probably about 3 to 4 clients a day. And that's probably where it's going to stay because even though most of the time I'm okay, I had another flare up this week. And I feel like it's probably important to remember that, it was pretty traumatic illness and it's inflammatory. So it's still in there. So I need to, back up a little bit and take on a little bit less of a case.
Let's hone in on this. This week, we're talking about the last week of January. So you're talking from April to January. That's like 9 months. And you're still having some flare-ups. So tell our viewers what this flare-up that you had this weekend felt like.
This week I was totally fine, and I woke up and I had terrible. I already have some issues with IBS, and I have some food allergies, but I pretty much know how to manage that. So the way the GI issues manifest through COVID, again, because this is an inflammatory disease, it's quite bad. And so I was sick with that for 3 days straight. And I also, I ended up getting another stye in my eye, and I'm trying to think. Oh, and just the fatigue hit me again. So one of the days I just took the whole day off and rescheduled my clients because I just couldn't function well. And that was last week. So that pushed all of my clients forward. And so now I've been working nonstop, and that's not a good thing because, if you're not getting enough rest, then you could have another flare up. So a few weeks ago, I woke up with the rash on my face again. So you just don't know what you're going to get hit with. About a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I woke up out of nowhere, just absolutely congested. And it's not like you get a hint of it. It's not like when you're getting a cold or maybe you're getting the flu and you can kind of feel it coming. This is not like that. So you're absolutely fine and you wake up completely sick, and then by the day you might be better again. So it seems to mimic an autoimmune type of disorder. So
why is mimicking that? Tell us exactly what you mean by an autoimmune disorder.
Well, the research out there now is showing that, and I'd have to check the latest research, but it's showing that it either is mimicking an autoimmune disorder or it could potentially be one. Because a nurse I was just talking to yesterday was saying that what happens is because it's an inflammatory disease and not a respiratory disease, what it does is it runs through your body to try to find areas that it can attach to. So if you have any issues already, it's going to try to attack those. So as an example, I've in the past had to have sinus surgery. So it knows, like this virus knows that that's a weaker area for me, or it knows that my existing GI issues are weak. So it actually goes and attacks. That's why everybody's symptoms are different.
Tell us, Heather, about the emotional, psychological, and mental impact of being a long hauler. So you have the physical ailments, the splitting headaches, the brain fog, and now you have the emotional and mental impact. Tell us about that.
I think what was hardest for me is I'm a very busy woman, and I enjoy, meeting with my clients, and I enjoy, just helping people and being active. And before I had COVID, I would always walk 10 to 12,000 steps a day and all of those things. And so I think for me, just not being able to function and not being there for my clients and not being able to see my daughter because I had to send her over to live with her dad and stepmom. She's 22. And because at the time we didn't know if you were still contagious when you had symptoms, and I want to take no chances with her. So I was all by myself, and I had friends constantly dropping stuff off for me, they were amazing, but just being isolated in that way where I'm not able to contribute and to do my work. And then after that, like in July, when I started to feel a little bit better, I still had to sleep like 3 or 4 hours every day. And that's just not like me. So, that was very depressing. And then, I was inactive. I was constantly on the sofa. So I went from weighing I think I gained like 25 pounds during that time, which I've since lost, but it's all of those things are happening all at once. And you're being told that you have to stay home and there's nothing anybody can do for you. So, that's tough.
Are you considered contagious now when you have these flare-ups?
No, you're not contagious. No, not after the first, I think it's 3 to 5 days. You're not. Now, it doesn't mean I couldn't get it again, but the flare-ups are just a result of the COVID.
Have you been able to get the COVID vaccine?
Not yet. And I was really hoping that they would have in Oakland County, I was hoping that there would be a slot to say that you've previously had COVID, but there isn't. So I'm way down on the list for that vaccine, which is wild. But
you'd think because you've had it that they'd want to get you vaccinated more quickly.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, you suffered physically, you suffered psychologically and emotionally. And what about the financial impact of COVID?
Yeah, that was really scary. My business was doing quite well. And because I couldn't meet with any clients, that also meant I couldn't take on any new clients. And so I think I actually, I survived it, but part of the problem is that the PUA, which was for business owners, it was held up for 10 weeks for me. So I was having to, use credit cards. So, all of that. And the EIDL loan was also being held up for various reasons that, some that we've all seen and experienced this past year. So yeah, it was really rough, and I'm rebuilding right now. And business is actually going well, but I have a lot up for, as do a lot. I mean, so many people who are long haulers or who had a long hauler in their family, or who are hourly workers, who even if they were only sick for 3 weeks, it's still 3 weeks of pay. So this has just been really traumatizing for many of us.
What about chronic fatigue? I mean, clearly what you described would fit with chronic fatigue. Mm-hmm. Is that one of the symptoms that a lot of long haulers, such as yourself, have suffered?
Yeah, I have at least 5 clients who are long haulers right now who are trying to get back into the career transition game, and all of them have that. And I also still experience that. So, every once in a while, I just can't. I just have to just lay on the sofa and just get rest. It's, for me, that is not as prevalent of a symptom. See, that's the brain fog. But it does pop up still. But prior to this, that was a consistent symptom until about September.
Heather, do you find it harder to focus?
Not now, but previously, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to focus when this is a painful, the symptoms are painful. They can be painful. So the rashes on my eyes and face, my face was swelling up from it, or the GI issues are very painful. So that type of pain, and combined with the fatigue, does make it really hard to focus. It was September that my very last symptom in September was neuropathy in my arms and hands. And I guess I forgot to tell you about this, but there's extreme bone pain. So I actually thought that all of a sudden I had arthritis, and I asked a doctor friend of mine, and she's like, no, you don't just get arthritis overnight. This is a COVID symptom. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know at the time that could be a symptom, but it turns out it's absolutely a normal symptom. So your bones, and for me, it was all my hands and wrists and up to my elbows were in a ton of pain. And then all of a sudden, that same time frame in early September, I started noticing that I was getting neuropathy in my arms, which is, that numb, tingling, it's kind of like pins and needle, fiery feeling. And then I woke up in the middle of September and I just had no symptoms anymore. Aside from the flare-ups that I still have, but I mean, that was it. I was actually back to myself 90% in September.
What would you consider to be your new normal, Heather?
I think I learned a lot going through this. So my new normal is not to work 70 hours a week anymore. I feel like my new normal is trying to work to help people and work to live instead of the other way around. And, I allow myself to rest more when I need it, because I learned just how bad, that kind of chronic fatigue is. And if your body's telling you something, you need to listen. And I think that I just really learned to enjoy, the sunshine and to be outside. And, when I started doing my walking again, I made a commitment to start walking all over my city and just to see, neighbors and different, houses and wave to people, on the porches, because we can't, we're still in this severe pandemic, but I think just to enjoy life more is kind of what my new normal looks like. And then just, not trying to work through it. Like if I'm having symptoms, I have to deal with them. I can't ignore them. There's really no option. So, being able to just say, I'm not going to be able to meet with you today because I have symptoms and not feel guilty about that. That's sort of, so it's kind of changed me a little bit.
Heather, were your clients understanding about this?
I only had one who wasn't out of all of them, so they were all amazing except for one person who I don't think she thought COVID was real. So, and that's okay. I just let her go. But other than that, everyone's been phenomenal.
What about, you mentioned that several of your clients are long haulers, so you're dealing with them. Were their symptoms similar or were there a lot of variations?
There's a lot of similarity with the symptoms, but there are some variations, depending, like some people have a real, their eyesight starts to be affected. Or some people, somebody was just telling me the other day that the fatigue is really, really bad for them still, where that's not the same thing for me. I know that some people are still getting like this, the sore throat will come up, or several of them still. One of my girlfriends just posted yesterday that she got it in March. So before I did, she still can't smell or taste.
Did you lose your smell or taste?
I did for about a month, and then that mine was better after that. But some people still have that after almost a year. They can't smell or taste.
Because I talked to someone who lost her smell and taste for several months, but now it's come back.
Mm-hmm.
What about the headaches? Was that common or?
Oh, those headaches are brutal. I would be sleeping at night and be woken up by the headache. Like it's that bad. It's just excruciating. And it seemed like there was no medication that worked. Ibuprofen didn't work, Tylenol. There was nothing I could take to get rid of it. So you just got to get through it.
Have you been to a doctor at any time during this process?
No, I haven't been. I'm very paranoid now to go anywhere. So I really don't want to be in an environment like that if I don't have to be. But I did have a virtual, check-in with the doctor, previously. So no, I haven't been. Now, there are some remedies now available that weren't available to those of us who caught it early on. So my understanding is it's a little bit more manageable for a lot of people now, but.
You weren't lucky enough to have that. What about, are you doing anything permanently with your diet or certain vitamins to help build yourself up or to help lessen some of the symptoms that you're still suffering at times?
Oh yeah, you should see my nighttime routine. I have all the gummies. So I take the multiple vitamin, the vitamin D3, I take the iron, I take the vitamin C. I have several, things that I'm taking just because I think, it can't hurt. And I didn't realize how bad sugar was for you with regard to COVID until doing some of the research. And part of the reason that I had that weight gain is because I was just craving juice all the time. And so I was like drinking cranberry juice and grape juice and orange juice, like 24/7 along with water. And I wasn't paying, and my friends were shopping for me. So I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was drinking all this juice with sugar in it.
Well, they're huge. Juice is one of the worst. People don't realize it. They think they're getting all these benefits, but you look at the sugar content of most juices and it's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had no idea. And so as soon as I realized, I was like, oh, this could be a big part of why I'm gaining all this weight. So I went to no sugar, and that helped, but I think part of the reason that I was craving all the juice is because, I was lacking in some of these necessary vitamins. So once I figured that out, you know, because again, we were all having to figure this out together, like through this Facebook group, because and through whatever early research there was. Then I stopped. So once I started taking all the supplements, then I stopped craving the juice anyway. And I still have like cranberry juice in my refrigerator that hasn't been opened from before, but because I'm not interested in it anymore. But yeah, at the time, my body needed something. I didn't know what it was.
What would you say to someone, as you said, you had one client who didn't believe it existed. A lot of people still don't believe it, or a lot of people will say, oh, it's no worse than the flu. What would you respond to that?
I mean, I could show them the pictures I took of myself with all the rashes and the styes and my eyes and all of that. I mean, it's alarming. People, you know, don't realize, like, I personally have not had anyone say that to me because they know I've had it. But I just, you know, it's so dangerous. And I don't know if you've heard, Henry, but that new strain has hit Michigan.
Right.
And it's nothing to take a chance on, you know. Even the people that I know that only had it for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, even saying that, like, you only had it for 2 or 3 weeks.
Only 2 or 3 weeks. That's pretty, I mean, I'm very paranoid. My wife is. I mean, I literally have not gone to my office since last March.
Mm-hmm.
I do everything from home now. And, you know, I won't go out without a mask. I do shop, but I wear gloves when I go into stores, which most people don't. So I don't know. What would you say as far as prevention, as far as advice to our viewers?
I mean, I just ordered the N95 mask from Amazon because of this new strain. I just got them. You have to wear a mask. It's, you know, it is to help protect others, but it is also to protect yourself. The reason that I got so sick was, I believe because I was sanitizing my keys, my hands, my door, my steering wheel. Like, I was being really careful back in March when I ended up, you know, before the lockdown. And so I was at a grocery store, and I was just, you know, reaching for some cheese or whatever. And this happens all the time, by the way. Men, don't do this to women. I'm only 5'1.5", so people reach over me all the time. Men do it almost every time I go to the grocery store. And this guy didn't have a mask on. I did, but he didn't. And because he was so much taller than me, we reached over, grabbed his shredded cheese or whatever he was trying to grab, and he must have just breathed all over me. I don't know. I can't think of another instance. It doesn't mean that was him, but I do know that I didn't go anywhere else after that, and I came down with it like 2 days later. So the viral load is what a lot of people have a misunderstanding that you only get sick if you already have a bunch of pre-existing conditions. I'm like generally I'm super healthy, you know, so other than my tummy issues, but I was talking to a different doctor a few weeks ago, and he said, yeah, people just don't understand. It's all about the viral load. It's about how much you ingest, not about anything else. And that will determine how sick you get. So that's why it's so important to wear the mask. You know, you just have to wear the mask.
Any other final words, because we're out of time? Wear the mask, social distance, wash your hands, sanitize as much as possible. Any other things that you would like to share with our viewers?
I mean, I think you covered all of that. You know, it's really hard on all of us not to be able to socialize, and it is collective trauma. But if you are taking chances, you know, you are absolutely putting yourself or people you care about at risk. So, you know, stay locked down as much as possible.
Heather, we're out of time. I want to thank you so much for sharing with us as our guest on Gracefully Graying. And I want to thank our viewers for watching Gracefully Graying. Again, please visit our YouTube channel and also our Gracefully Graying site. Share it and like it. Thank you.